So we're talking about CBD, THC or THCA, Kratom, and even nicotine to an extent. We'll touch point on, because these products inevitably are going to be the first three regulated a lot more, to the point where some of them won't even exist. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Health Podcast. Today we're diving into really a different space than we've talked to in the past. We've mentioned CBD, we've mentioned things like nicotine in the past, but we're going to kind of create a better broad reach in terms of how is this being regulated and what are the effects of it now that there's a new law being passed in here in effect today in Tennessee, where your ability to get some of these products are significantly hampered and reduced. So we're talking about CBD, THC or THCA, Kratom, and even nicotine to an extent. We'll touch point on, because these products inevitably are going to be the first three regulated a lot more, to the point where some of them won't even exist. Or else you'll have a misdemeanor charge if you do possess them. So there's some pretty strict guidelines happening with it, and it's like, hey, I think just having this conversation is important, because you may not even know the effects that some of these are happening from a beneficial standpoint, and also from a negative perspective. So just having an awareness of what CBD is, THCA, what Kratom is, how it affects the body, nicotine, how it affects the body. In the world where we have more knowledge and understanding than ever, and we're experimenting with certain substances to produce a desired effect, which for me, my desired effect daily comes down to performance, mental performance, physical performance, feeling good, and being able to kick butt is so important, right? It's like, at what extent does it start to create negative effects? Because of I've experimented with all four of those products in different ways, and I can really, just from a personal perspective, give you understanding of their effects on the body. I've taken CBD to help improve deep sleep, experimented with it, looking at my Oura Ring, my Whoop device, and saw a noticeable change in deep sleep. But then I've also taken certain products like melatonin and L-theanine to create the same effect. I've recommended the use of CBD for certain neuroinflammatory cases and seizure activity, and I think it's been super beneficial. And then when it comes to THC, I think this has been more, been probably more popularized from a recreational standpoint. Those that are looking really for a significant impact directly into the endocannabinoid system. Right. So this is an extract of THCA. What we hear as Delta 8 or Delta 9 is an extract of THCA from the hemp plant. And the potency of it, when you take it, can create very strong effects as if it's the same active compounds of the marijuana plant. And that can create whatever desired effect you want, depending upon how much you take. Low quantities is probably more sedative. High quantities, it can be hallucinogenic, or the sensation of feeling high. And then you have Kratom. Kratom works on the opioid system, the mu opioid receptors, and it can, in low doses, have a really strong, powerful effect for mental clarity, energy. It's been used for hundreds of years. People have been consuming it for hundreds of years for energy enhancement. But then, on the negative side, when you consume too much of it, has super strong sedative effects. And obviously, it's very addictive. All of them are addicting, including nicotine, which people say nicotine's not addictive. Nicotine is extremely addictive. Nicotine is habit forming. When people consume nicotine, yes, it provides in low doses, in a milligram dose or 2 or 3 milligrams max. It does provide mental clarity, energy, focus, but then too much can cause anxiety. Too much can create a really strong habit-forming experience where your body recognizes, your brain recognizes the timing of which you do it, and then the repetition of that timing creates a habit that creates an addictive component to it. And all of those can be addictive. CBD can be addictive. THC can be addictive. Kratom can be addictive. Nicotine can be addictive, and it's really based on your genes, the amount you're taking, the habit formation around it, the repetition of it, and the length of time. And so the important thing to note is in low quantities, plants have incredible medicinal benefit, from helping with neurological inflammation to brain enhancement to energy to productivity, just like caffeine would. But then too much can create anxiety and heart arrhythmias and palpitations and increase anxiety. So what's the right dose? And it's really hard to find that. And then when you add in the addictive component of these plant chemicals, these plant alkaloids, it can inevitably grab you by the back of the neck and take hold of your life. And I think that's why some of it can be rightfully banned. I think the law passed in Tennessee is called the Matthew Davenport law, and it's really specific towards kratom and all kratom products. So you won't be seeing that on the shelves starting in July 1st. When it comes to CBD, the law is really around the THCA or Delta 8, Delta 9. You'll still have access to some CBD-based products that are regulated within a certain percent of total THCA in the volume of that drink, for instance. There'll still be, certain spritz type drinks in the shelf at Whole Foods that'll contain low dose of CBD, which create an extremely low dose amount of THCA. So that'll probably still be on the market in the state of Tennessee. But in terms of stronger, full spectrum hemp-based, working within the directly and indirectly the endocannabinoid system, we're going to start to see that drop off, if not fully eliminate here in the next few days into the few weeks ahead. So the issues around it, I think, are from probably somewhat from a financial standpoint. I mean, there's some regulation to where only certain facilities can have it, who gets access to it. I mean, there's some questions there, I think, for sure. I think there is some good into it where it does regulate what kids can get a hold of and not have the ability to self-regulate. I mean, I think nicotine is an issue in kids. I think caffeine is an issue in kids. So why is it alcohol is an issue in kids? Why is it happening with these products and not others? I think there's some questions to be answered there that are left unanswered. And which one's better to have on the shelf versus others? I think it's hard to even process that question. And so inevitably, it doesn't feel necessarily fair, especially because I think people are therapeutically using CBD and THC-based products for pain relief or chronic nerve pain. Where if you've ever had nerve pain, it's unique, it's different, and people don't want the effects of gabapentin, so they're going to lean towards THC-based products, and there's some benefit there, and that would be maybe a better option for some than some of the stronger pharmaceutical options. So I think there's a lot of questions to be answered, and I don't think we're going to necessarily get those answers anytime soon. But if we look at it as of today, there is a reality that it's going to change. What we're using plants for and how we're using them and the dosing, it's kind of like peptides. It's been used for, since the 70s, 80s, since the 20s, really insulin, but 70s and 80s, and peptides are being regulated more now than ever. Why? I don't know. Feels like it's money. Feels like it's a sense of big pharma getting a hold of it and making a ton of money, like off his Ozempic, for instance, in the GLP-1s, and then seeing access to other peptides that are creating another effect on some other part of the body. That could be a revolutionary longevity type, approach or intervention. So it feels like it's somewhat similar, but that's, I think, just bringing it to your awareness and what these products are doing, the regulation of them, but also helping you with, hey, maybe you're listening to this podcast and you've had CBD or THC-based products or kratom-based products or nicotine. What are options to support your body? And I think most people would do the CBD, THC products for inflammation purposes, for brain, maybe sleep, maybe brain health. So what are some alternatives? I think I think some alternatives to help with anxiety and the sensation of being anxious. One is built on the foundation of healthy lifestyle. Sleep is essential, getting adjusted, healthy nutrition, moving your body, early morning sunlight, reduction of caffeine. All of those things are going to help. What's in addition to that? Probably melatonin at night can be really helpful. L-theanine throughout the day, 100 milligrams a couple times a day can be super helpful. You can take forms of GABA that can be, or glycine that can work on the GABA receptor, which is what is supported in a way of the endocannabinoid system is working within the GABA receptors. So you can work with some glycine at night to really help calm the brain down, get in some deep restorative sleep cycles. And then other things like ashwagandha works really well. It's not going to have the same effect. It's not going to be as strong and as direct, but it is going to help. It will help the nervous system become more resilient, more adaptive, less stressed, and a little bit more resilient. So I think there's some potency and some power behind adaptogenic herbs. If you're looking for a kind of a mental boost, I think lion's mane, cordyceps, rhodiola, so some of those mushroom and herbal plant alkaloids can be really helpful for you. If you're looking for a mental acuity focus, one of my favorite things I take daily for, I would say, just overall mental performance is from a company called Qualia. So Qualia Mind has a product that has a bunch of different herbs and vitamins in one product that really does help drive mental performance. So I think that's a really good option for some. And then, I think we're still going to see some CBD products out there, and it just may not be the potency that you're traditionally used to. May not be necessarily a bad thing, depending upon what you're using it for. But just be mindful that any of those products can be habit and addictive forming. So even if it's nicotine and you've had an addiction to it, which means you're really, in my opinion, consuming more than 3 to 5 milligrams a day, that's an addictive. That's too much. And we need to definitely resensitize our body. It's the same thing with caffeine, right? At some point, it's just the value of it is outweighing or the risks are outweighing the benefit. So how much is too much? Well, in my opinion, if you're consuming caffeine past 2 p.m., you're disrupting your sleep and your deep sleep cycle. So the first recommendation would be dropping caffeine past 2 o'clock, and then switching your caffeine sources. So consuming caffeine that has more L-theanine in it, like green tea, would probably be a better option for you. In general, our brain is constantly looking for a reward. We're looking for our dopamine. We're looking for substances that are or technology is going to drive our dopamine system. And as we know, we can exhaust that system and then get addicted to something that's going to hit it hard. And I think that's where the addiction of some of these products are from. Resetting your dopamine, getting out in nature, calming down the stimulants, looking at less technology, all of that will help reset. It may take time. It may take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to overcome some of these plant alkaloids that you've used for quite a while, but it will be beneficial in the long run. Your brain will learn to adapt again and fire and become efficient. So in this landscape of today, I would say just be mindful that we can become addicted to things really quickly. But there are some really healthy alternatives out there, but nothing replaces the foundation of a healthy brain and life through sleep, recovery, training, chiropractic care, nutrition, hydration, sauna, cold plunge. I mean, those things are just the non-negotiables. Improving mitochondrial function through driving healthy ATP, creatine in the morning, minerals. We're just going to do an episode coming up on shilajit, which is a powerful mineral combined with fulvic acid. So I think that's where really in the world of biohacking, those are hard to become addicted to per se in a negative way. Whereas when we get into plants at high doses can create sooner or later a negative effect. And we just got to be mindful of that. So is it good? I'm not sure. Is it bad? I'm not sure. I'm pretty neutral with it. It's just a reality of where we're at in the state of Tennessee. And you'll start to see probably some laws in other states as well, especially more conservative states. You'll start to see those laws take place. So just be mindful that, hey, it may be coming, But at the same time, if you have an addiction to a substance, I mean, making sure that and you don't excuse the reality that, hey, these substances can become addictive, and to make sure you're getting help and supporting it through other means. Some of the things we talked about. So that is my just a public service announcement of things that are coming down the state into the state of Tennessee, and just be aware of, and how to support your body's ability to heal, adapt, be resilient daily. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Real Health Podcast.